Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing great. It's been so long since I've done an intro and I want to say that I've been working my ass off and I'm sorry that I've been behind on videos, but you're getting 2 videos today to make up for the one last week that I miss until tomorrow to make up for the other one last week that I missed. I hope you guys are enjoying the schedule and I also hope you're enjoying the messy GC. This is the full episode to DAICHI and Aran and Kita, and this is also their last episode, that's why I'm making the video so long. But I hope you guys enjoy and I hope you enjoy. Crash out DAICHI. Bye everyone and love you. The room was quiet, save for the soft beeping of the heart monitor and the distant hum of hospital machines. The early morning light had fully crept in, casting long shadows across the floor, as if time itself was slowing in the presence of their heavy silence. Daichi's eyes never left Sugawara, his expression unreadable. The words he'd been holding back for days now felt like they would choke him if he didn't ask. His fists were still clenched, the pain in his chest unbearable. Slowly, he exhaled, his voice breaking the stillness of the room. Suga, Daichi began, his voice low, rough. I need you to tell me, how did it happen? You and Oikawa, why him? Sugawara's eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, he seemed disoriented. His face was pale, his body still fragile from the ordeal, but the weariness in his gaze quickly shifted to something darker, something more vulnerable. He swallowed hard, the words tasting bitter as they formed in his throat. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, Sugawara murmured, his voice soft but filled with shame. He closed his eyes briefly, taking a shaky breath. Oikawa, he was going through something, Daichi, something he didn't know how to handle. He came to me, he was broken. Daichi's heart thudded in his chest, but he forced himself to stay quiet, to listen, even as the anger simmered beneath the surface. Sugawara continued, his words tumbling out in a rush as though saying them aloud might somehow make it all less real. It was right after Iwazumi, he cheated on Oikawa, with Sakusa. The name hung in the air, sharp and cruel. Oikawa didn't know who to turn to. He was drowning, Daichi. I could see it in his eyes when he came to my apartment that night. I didn't know how to help him, but I couldn't turn him away. The pain in Sugawara's voice was raw, a mix of regret and something deeper, something unspoken. His fingers tightened around the bedsheets, his knuckles white. Daichi could feel his stomach twist, but he held his ground. Oikawa, Sugawara continued, his voice breaking. He just needed someone to listen. I didn't know it would go this far. He was drunk, so drunk, and all he could do was talk about Iwazumi, about the betrayal, how Iwazumi made him feel like he wasn't enough, how he was never enough. Sugawara paused, taking another breath. Daichi's eyes were sharp, focused on him, trying to suppress the fury bubbling up inside. I didn't mean for it to happen, Daichi. We didn't plan it. But Oikawa was so lost. He was so hurt, and I just wanted to help him, and before I knew it, we were kissing. He kissed me, and I kissed him back. The room felt smaller now, as though the walls themselves were closing in on Daichi. His heart hammered in his chest, the words tasting bitter on his tongue, but he couldn't stop himself from asking, his voice trembling with a mixture of disbelief and pain. Did you love him, Suga? Daichi's question was barely a whisper, but it cut through the air with the force of a blade. His eyes locked onto Sugawara, searching for some truth, some sign that what they shared had meant something more than this. Sugawara's expression faltered, and the guilt in his eyes was overwhelming. No, he whispered, almost too quietly. I didn't love him, not like I love you, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop him. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Sugawara's shoulders trembled, and Daichi could see the weight of his confession settle over him like a heavy fog. He wanted to scream, to lash out at the betrayal, but he didn't. Instead, he stood there, unmoving, trying to process the tangled mess of emotions that churned inside him. I never wanted to hurt you, Daichi. I was just trying to help. I thought it was the only way to fix things, to make him feel better, but I never meant for it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. Daichi took a step back, his hands shaking at his sides. His eyes stung, but he couldn't bring himself to shed a tear. Not yet, not when the anger, the betrayal, was still so fresh. He ran a hand through his hair, trying to keep himself composed, but the words kept echoing in his mind. I can't. Daichi finally whispered, his voice hoarse. I don't know if I can forgive you, Suga. I don't know if I can live with this. Sugawara's face crumpled in pain. His eyes welled with tears, but he didn't let them fall. Instead, he reached out, his hand trembling, and touched Daichi's arm gently, as if trying to bridge the gap that had formed between them. I'm so sorry, Daichi. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to lose you. Please, please don't hate me. The words, the pain, it all hung in the air like a fragile thread, barely holding on. Daichi could feel his heart breaking, piece by piece, with each word Sugawara spoke. And yet, despite everything, despite the anger and the betrayal, a part of him wanted to reach out, to hold Sugawara close and tell him that they could fix this, that they could find a way to move forward. But for now, Daichi could only stand there, lost in the storm of emotions that raged inside him, unsure of what to do, or if he even could. Flashback. The rain had been falling relentlessly, a steady rhythm against the windows as the storm outside mirrored the one inside Oikawa's heart. The light from the street lamps filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room. Oikawa stood at the door, his hand trembling as he knocked softly on Sugawara's apartment. He didn't know why he came, didn't know if he even deserved to be here. All he knew was that he couldn't be alone tonight. The door creaked open, and there stood Sugawara, his eyes tired but kind, as always. He didn't ask questions, didn't pry into what had led Oikawa here. He just stepped aside and let him in. No words needed to be spoken. Oikawa stumbled in, the weight of the world hanging on his shoulders. Sugawara closed the door behind him and led him to the couch. He didn't need to say anything, his presence was enough, a quiet comfort amidst the chaos Oikawa couldn't escape. The silence between them stretched, heavy and thick, but Sugawara knew Oikawa needed this space. Without a word, Sugawara disappeared into the kitchen, returning moments later with 2 glasses and a bottle of whiskey. He didn't ask if Oikawa wanted it. He knew. Oikawa took the glass in silence, staring at the amber liquid swirling inside it. His hands shook, his body numb, but it wasn't the alcohol that was making him tremble. It was everything that had happened, everything that was still happening. Do you want to talk about it? Sugawara asked gently, sitting beside him. The question wasn't forced, but it hung in the air like a lifeline. Oikawa didn't look at him, just took a long swig of the drink, the warmth spreading down his throat but doing nothing to soothe the icy ache in his chest. I don't even know where to start, Suga. Oikawa's voice cracked, the first sign of the storm breaking. I thought we were okay. That Iwazumi and we had something real, you know? But then he betrayed me, and I don't even know how to handle it. He cheated on me, with Sakusa. Sugawara's eyes widened in shock, the realization hitting him like a punch to the gut. Oikawa's face was twisted in pain, his eyes glassy with unshed tears, but he wouldn't let them fall. Not yet. I didn't even see it coming, Suga. I never thought he'd do that to me. He was my best friend. He was everything I thought I could rely on. And then, Oikawa's breath hitched, his hands gripping the glass so tightly his knuckles turned white. And then I found out. Sakusa of all people, the one person I trusted, the one person I thought would never hurt me. Sugawara's heart clenched. He could feel the weight of Oikawa's words, the suffocating pain in them. His hand hovered over Oikawa's shoulder but didn't land, unsure of how to offer comfort without overwhelming him. I thought it was just a phase, you know? Oikawa continued, his voice barely a whisper. That maybe we could work through it. But he didn't even try. He didn't want to fix things. He just left. He walked away from me like I was nothing. Oikawa's chest rose and fell rapidly, the alcohol doing little to numb the raw emotion that was spilling out of him now. I was nothing, Suga. To him, I was just nothing. Sugawara's hand finally rested on Oikawa's shoulder, a simple, grounding touch. He didn't know what to say, what words could possibly heal the wounds Oikawa was carrying, but he couldn't stand to see his friend like this. He couldn't stand to see anyone in this kind of pain. I don't know what to do anymore, Oikawa whispered, his voice thick with emotion. I've never felt so lost, like I've failed him, failed myself. Sugawara's chest tightened as he watched Oikawa unravel before him, piece by piece. The man who was always so full of energy, so confident, now seemed so small, so broken. And Sugawara, as much as he wanted to reach out and pull Oikawa into his arms and tell him everything would be okay, he knew it wouldn't be that simple. It couldn't be. I'm here, Oikawa. Sugawara said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. You're not alone in this. Not now. Not ever. Oikawa finally looked at him, his eyes raw with emotion. There was something in his gaze, something desperate, something that Sugawara couldn't ignore. And without thinking, without fully processing what was happening, Oikawa leaned into him, his head resting against Sugawara's shoulder as he broke down. Sugawara froze, but then, slowly, he wrapped his arms around Oikawa, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew what this could mean, what could happen in a moment like this. But in that moment, all he could feel was Oikawa's pain, his need, his vulnerability. I'm sorry, Oikawa whispered between sobs. I'm sorry, Suga. I never meant for this to happen. I never wanted to drag you into my mess. Sugawara tightened his grip on him, the weight of everything sinking in. You didn't drag me into anything, Oikawa. I'm here because I care about you. I care about you, and you're not alone. I'm not going anywhere. The warmth of Oikawa's body against his, the steady rhythm of his breathing, it all seemed to pull Sugawara closer to the edge, and in the quiet, dark room, they both found something, comfort, maybe, or perhaps the beginning of something they didn't fully understand. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, but in the whirlwind of emotions and desperate need for connection, nothing felt quite as clear. Time skip. Days had passed since Sugawara's confession, but the weight of the situation still hung heavily in the air. Daichi had spent those days in a restless haze, his thoughts spiraling between anger, confusion, and a lingering, fragile hope. He couldn't escape the image of Sugawara with Oikawa. The betrayal had burned itself into his mind, refusing to fade. But there was something else, something deeper, that kept him tethered to Sugawara. Love. A love that was messy and complicated, a love that didn't easily let go. It had always been there, even through the pain. Daichi sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands. His fingers twitched with the need to do something, to move, but everything felt still, as if the world had paused around him. He hadn't seen Sugawara for a few days, not since that conversation in the hospital room. He hadn't known what to say, what to do. But now, sitting in the quiet of his apartment, he felt the pull to make sense of it all, to find a way through the tangled mess they'd found themselves in. His phone buzzed on the table in front of him, snapping him from his thoughts. It was a message from Sugawara. Daichi, I'm sorry. I know I can't change what happened, but I want you to know I'm here. I'll be here for as long as you need me. Daichi stared at the words for a long time. His chest ached with the conflicting emotions that flooded him, but something inside him shifted. He had spent so much time running from his feelings, from the pain, but he knew, deep down, that he couldn't keep running forever. With a deep breath, Daichi reached for his phone and typed back, his fingers moving slowly over the keys. I know, I'm not sure I'm ready to forgive yet, Suga, but I want to try. I need time. I need you to understand that. He hit send, and for a moment, everything felt suspended in time. Would Sugawara still be there when he was ready? Would he wait for Daichi to figure it all out? A reply came almost immediately. I understand. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. I always will. Daichi set the phone down, the words settling into his chest like a weight he had been carrying without realizing. He took a long, steadying breath and stood, walking toward the window. The sun was setting, casting the sky in shades of gold and purple. It was a new day, and maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of something new for them too. Time skip. A few days later, Daichi stood at the door to Sugawara's apartment. He wasn't sure if he was ready, but he knew he had to try. He had to stop running from the inevitable. When Sugawara opened the door, his expression was cautious but hopeful, as if he wasn't sure what Daichi was going to say, what he was going to do. But when their eyes met, Daichi saw it, the regret, the sorrow, and most of all, the love. Daichi swallowed hard, stepping inside. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing in the quiet room. I don't know if I can ever forget what happened. Daichi began, his voice low but steady. I don't know if I can ever be the same after this. But, I love you, Suga. I love you enough to try. Sugawara's breath caught in his throat. Daichi, I'm not asking for things to go back to the way they were, Daichi continued. I'm asking for a chance to rebuild, to start over, no matter how long it takes. I need you to be patient with me, but I'm here. I'm not walking away. Sugawara's eyes filled with unshed tears, but he didn't cry. Instead, he stepped forward, his hands trembling as they reached for Daichi's. The moment their fingers touched, everything seemed to fall into place, like a broken puzzle coming together, piece by piece. I'll wait for you, Daichi, Sugawara whispered, his voice barely audible. I'll wait for however long it takes. I'll prove to you that I love you, that I never wanted to hurt you. Daichi pulled him close, wrapping his arms around Sugawara and holding him tightly. The warmth of Sugawara's embrace was both comforting and painful, a reminder of everything they'd lost and everything they still had the chance to rebuild. I know, Daichi murmured, his voice thick with emotion. I know. They stood there, holding each other, in the quiet of the room, letting the weight of the past few days settle around them. There was no magic fix, no sudden wave of forgiveness, but there was a new beginning, a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, they could make it through this, together, or so he thought. Time skipped 1 week later. Daichi had spent the entire day envisioning the smile on Sugawara's face when he arrived with a bouquet of white lilies, his favorite. It had been weeks since things started looking up between them, and Daichi felt like they were finally steady again after so much turmoil. Sugawara's laugh echoed in his mind, the way his soft voice always made Daichi's chest warm. When Daichi reached Sugawara's apartment, though, a strange unease settled in his stomach. The door was ajar, just a crack, barely enough to notice, but it was enough to set off an alarm in Daichi's head. Sugawara was meticulous, always double-checking locks and ensuring everything was secure. This wasn't right. Pushing the door open slowly, Daichi's breath hitched as he stepped inside. The place was quiet, eerily so. His eyes scanned the hallway, and that's when he noticed them, a trail of clothes scattered across the floor. A shirt here, jeans there, even underwear haphazardly tossed aside. The sight made his heart pound, confusion clouding his thoughts. No, this wasn't right. He followed the trail, each step feeling heavier than the last. His palms began to sweat, and his grip on the flowers tightened. His stomach churned as he approached Sugawara's bedroom door, slightly ajar like the front. Faint sounds began to register, moans, unmistakably intimate, growing louder with every step. Daichi froze. His chest tightened as if the air had been sucked out of the room. No, shaking, his feet moved before his mind could catch up, carrying him to the kitchen. His hand instinctively reached for the block of knives. His pulse roared in his ears, drowning out every rational thought. The cool metal handle of the blade felt foreign in his hand, yet grounding. He didn't want to believe what he was hearing, but the sounds grew louder, more vivid, cutting through him like shards of glass. Knife in hand, Daichi made his way to the bedroom. Each step felt like an eternity. His mind raced with every possibility, every excuse, until he reached the doorway. And then he saw them. Sugawara was straddling Aran and Jiro, their bodies intertwined in a tangle of sheets and sweat. Both were completely naked. Sugawara's head was thrown back, his lips parted in a gasp of pleasure, the expression that Daichi had thought was reserved only for him. The bouquet fell from Daichi's trembling hand, landing soundlessly on the carpet. Both Sugawara and Aran turned at the sudden movement, their faces morphing from pleasure to shock. Sugawara's eyes widened in horror as he saw Daichi standing there, his frame taut with rage, his chest heaving as though he'd just run a marathon. Daichi, Sugawara's voice cracked, but the words caught in his throat as he noticed the gleam of the knife in Daichi's hand. Daichi's grip on the blade tightened. The anger bubbling inside him threatened to spill over, consuming him entirely. His vision blurred with tears he refused to let fall, his jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Daichi's breathing grew heavier, the fury in his chest threatening to explode. His vision blurred, but one thing was clear: Aran, sitting there, naked, on his bed, touching his Sugawara, the man who had invaded what was supposed to be theirs. Without thinking, Daichi lunged forward, grabbing the knife he had set down earlier. His body moved on instinct, driven by an anger he could no longer contain. Daichi, Sugawara screamed, his voice desperate and cracking. Stop, please. But Daichi wasn't listening. The blood roared in his ears, drowning out every sound except the pounding of his own heart. Aran scrambled off the bed, his eyes wide with panic as he stumbled to grab his clothes. You think you can just come into my life, into my relationship, and get away with this? Daichi roared, gripping the knife so tightly his knuckles turned white. Aran held up his hands, his face pale and drenched in sweat. I didn't know, man. I swear, I didn't know you two were together. Didn't know. Daichi's voice was a snarl as he stepped closer. You knew exactly what you were doing. Sugawara, still clutching the blanket around himself, threw himself between the two men. Daichi, stop it. Please. This isn't the answer. But Daichi's rage was a fire that couldn't be extinguished. He sidestepped Sugawara and lunged at Aran, the knife glinting under the dim bedroom light. Aran yelped and dove out of the way, narrowly avoiding Daichi's swipe. Daichi, don't do this. Sugawara cried, his voice breaking as he chased after him. Aran stumbled over a chair in his panic, crashing to the floor. He scrambled to his feet, grabbing the nearest thing he could find, a lamp, as Daichi stalked toward him. Stay back, yo! Aran shouted, holding the lamp defensively, his chest heaving with terror. Daichi let out a bitter laugh, the sound dripping with venom. What's the matter? You weren't scared when you were screwing him, were you? He lunged again, the knife slicing through the air. Aran barely managed to duck, the blade missing him by inches. He bolted toward the living room, desperate to put distance between himself and Daichi. Daichi, stop! Sugawara screamed, tears streaming down his face as he chased after them. Please, you're going to kill him. That's the idea. Daichi snarled, his voice echoing through the apartment. Aran tripped over the trail of discarded clothes as he reached the front door, slamming into the wall. He fumbled with the lock, his hands shaking so badly he could barely turn it. Daichi closed the distance between them in seconds, grabbing the back of Aran's shirt and yanking him away from the door. You don't get to run, Daichi growled, slamming Aran against the wall. You don't get to walk away from this. Daichi, Sugawara screamed, grabbing his arm and trying to pull him back. Stop it. Please, I'm begging you. Daichi hesitated for a fraction of a second, his grip on Aran loosening as Sugawara's sobs pierced through the haze of his anger. Aran took the opportunity to shove Daichi away and sprint out the door, clutching his clothes to his chest as he fled down the hallway. Daichi stared after him, his chest heaving, the knife still in his hand. The sound of Sugawara's sobs brought him back to reality, the weight of what had just happened crashing down on him. He turned to see Sugawara standing there, his face pale and streaked with tears, his hands trembling as he clutched the blanket around himself. Daichi, Sugawara whispered, his voice broken. What have you done? Daichi looked at the knife in his hand, then at the open door where Aran had disappeared. The adrenaline began to fade, replaced by a crushing wave of guilt and despair. He started, but the words caught in his throat. He dropped the knife, the clang echoing through the apartment, and sank to his knees. Sugawara hesitated for a moment before slowly approaching him. Daichi, I trusted you, Daichi whispered, his voice shaking. I loved you, and you destroyed everything. Sugawara knelt beside him, his hands trembling as he reached out but stopped short of touching him. I'm so sorry, he sobbed. I never meant for this to happen. Don't, Daichi said, his voice cold and hollow. Don't say another word. He pushed himself to his feet, his movements slow and deliberate. Without looking at Sugawara, he walked out the door, leaving him kneeling on the floor, clutching the blanket and crying uncontrollably. Daichi didn't know where he was going or what he was going to do. All he knew was that he couldn't stay there. Not anymore. Daichi stormed down the hallway, his breaths shallow and uneven, the knife still gripped tightly in his hand. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, each more unbearable than the last. The vivid image of Sugawara's betrayal played on an endless loop in his mind. His body shook with anger, but beneath it, a crushing wave of sadness loomed, threatening to drown him. He stopped midway down the corridor, leaning against the wall as the weight of everything bore down on him. The knife slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor. For a moment, the sound seemed deafening in the silence, snapping him back to the present. He stared at it, his chest heaving, his emotions warring inside him. He thought about everything they had been through together. The late nights when Sugawara clung to him after waking up from a nightmare. The soft kisses they shared in the morning before starting their day. The way Sugawara would laugh when Daichi teased him about his obsession with neatness. Every memory felt like another stab to the heart now, tainted by what he had just seen. Daichi's legs felt weak. He slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, his head buried in his hands. His shoulders trembled as a tear finally slipped free, rolling down his face. How could Sugawara do this? After everything they had been through, after Daichi had stood by him, loved him, and fought for them to work? He clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms as another wave of anger surged through him. In the distance, he heard hurried footsteps. He looked up to see Sugawara standing in the doorway of his apartment, hastily wrapped in a blanket, his face pale and tear-streaked. Daichi, Sugawara's voice was soft, tentative, but it cut through Daichi like a blade. Daichi pushed himself to his feet, his expression cold and unreadable now. Don't, he said, his voice firm but shaking ever so slightly. Don't say my name like that. Sugawara flinched, clutching the blanket tighter around him. I need to explain. Please, just give me a chance. Daichi let out a bitter laugh, his jaw tightening. Explain? You think there's anything you can say to make this better? To make me forget what I just saw? Sugawara's lip quivered, and he took a cautious step forward. It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking, I was overwhelmed, and Daichi held up a hand, stopping him in his tracks. Don't, he said again, more forcefully this time. You don't get to make excuses for what you did. You don't get to act like this is something that just happened. I'm sorry, Sugawara whispered, his voice cracking. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You didn't mean for it to happen. Daichi snapped, his voice rising. You didn't mean to strip down and let someone else touch you? You didn't mean to betray me. Sugawara recoiled as if the words had physically struck him. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. Daichi took a step closer, his eyes burning with a mix of anger and despair. I loved you, he said, his voice low but trembling with emotion. I gave you everything I had, Suga, everything, and this is how you repay me? Tears streamed down Sugawara's face as he shook his head, his voice barely audible. I love you, Daichi, I do. Please, believe me. Daichi laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and full of pain. Love, he echoed. You don't do this to someone you love. You don't destroy them like this. Sugawara took another step forward, desperation in his eyes. I made a mistake. I know I messed up. but I'll do anything to fix this. Please, Daichi, just give me a chance to make it right. Daichi stared at him, his heart breaking all over again. He wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that this was something they could overcome. But the image of Sugawara with Aran was burned into his mind, a constant reminder of what had been shattered between them. After a long moment of silence, Daichi shook his head. I can't, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I can't do this. Sugawara's face crumpled, his sobs growing louder as Daichi turned and walked away. Each step felt like a dagger to his heart, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. As he exited the building, the cold night air hit him, but it did little to numb the pain inside. He didn't know where he was going, or what he would do next. All he knew was that he couldn't stay there, not after what he had just seen. He shoved his hands into his pockets, his fingers brushing against the small velvet box he had been carrying all day. He pulled it out, staring at it in the dim light of the street lamp. Inside was a ring. He had planned to propose to Sugawara tonight. In the messy GCBC, everyone getting cheated on GC. Daichi went online. Yoo, the savior is back. DAICHI, what's good? Where have you been? I've been trying to figure stuff out. Stuff like what? Stuff like how many of you guys knew that Sugawara had fuckboy Ka and didn't tell me. And don't fucking lie, cause lying won't do you no good. Wait, I thought Sugawara told you. He did tell me, but the problem is you guys were laughing with me, and y'all was the same people that knew that he was fucking other people behind my back. For example, he fuckboy Ka. Tell me why I walked in on him and Aran. I am truly sorry to Kita, but all the rest of you fuck all your hoes. Cause you guys knew but you ain't tell me shit. You guys fucking knew that he was fucking others behind my back, and my dumbass went and tried to propose to this bitch. Sugawara went online. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to what? Slip your mouth on his dick? Slip it inside you. Fuck, you didn't mean? I walked in on you guys. You're on top of him riding him and you're loud as shit. You're doing shit for him that you don't even do for me. I'm so fucking sorry. I hope you aren't mad with us because the only people that would know is his little friend group, such as Akashi and Oikawa. Akashi would never keep a secret like that. Bakuto, I'm sorry to tell you this, you see how they all fucking each other cause you probably got hit once or twice. Daichi, I understand that you are upset right now, but there's no need to make false accusation. How stupid can you be? False accusations. People been saying this shit since long time ago. You're the one that's so fucking blind in love that you think Akashi is not fucking dogging you behind your back. You're literally being treated like a rag that people use to wipe their ass. If I don't see proof, then I don't believe in any word anyone say. You say that, but when they did show you proof the first time around, your dumbass said it was AI. And then when you asked him to hang out with you, he said no. And then when your best friend told you to shut the fuck up disrespectfully and you went offline, guess what your boyfriend said? Count on count, I have to fucking deal with him. Doesn't it all seem odd to you at all? Where is your fucking self-respect? Daichi, please calm down. Can we just talk about this privately? Oh fuck no. Daichi, I don't appreciate you talking about me in my face like this. And also about my friends. I feel like you should really calm down. I should calm down? You must be fucking kidding me.
Fuck that bitch, ain't no respect for her. That little bitch turn her back so quick, you ain't got no check for her. I seen the type of nigga she fuck with, no respect for her.
No, that's just crazy shit. I understand where you're coming from, but goddamn.
Act like a dog, then I take you to a pet store. I fuck her crazy, then I move on to the next whore. I do you dirty, how you knocking on your ex door.
Why is his insults so fucking funny? The only reason I'm laughing is cause I ain't do shit, and I don't know shit. I actually feel so bad that happened to Daichi, but is funny ASF when he get mad. Sugawara, you fucking bitch, me a bitch, you're the one that caused Aran to come to me, and you're just a slut that took him. Then maybe if you would stop being so boring, he won't have to come fuck with me. Bitch, shut the fuck up, your whole lose ASF because of how ran through you are. Can everyone calm down? Some of overviewers I low-key under 13. Wait, really? If you're under 13 you should click off. Go watch something else. Daichi, please calm down. Like, I get why you're so upset, but resorting to name calling isn't the way. Then what is? Him gaining a body or fucking many people at once? He's not like you guys. Bakuto, what has gotten into you? You know how strongly I dislike cheaters. At Sugawara.
You think you bougie, but you bougie for the internet. Your pussy dookie, gotta spit on it just to get it wet. She fucked on Goofy, said she wish that she could take it back. Told me how you hate the clout, now you chasing it.
God damn, I mean he isn't wrong. His booty dookie. I can't stop. Now he's lying about that. Aran, please shut the fuck up. Daichi, call him a slur. At this point I won't hold it against you. Stop, do not. I understand. But Lev just wants an excuse to say the N-word. Like this is a perfect opportunity.
I can treat you like a clown, bitch, you waiting on the purse. I can really put you down, bitch, you waiting on the first. She say, why ain't fuck her twice? I say, I'm waiting on my perks. I can see your cousins now with their faces on your shirt.
Waiting in his gun. Please do not pull another Iwaizumi. Wait, can we get a hood translator? Okay, so I got you. Hinata, go sit your ginger ass outta here, you know damn well. You don't speak no damn hood. Don't worry, I got you all. So basically, when Daichi said he can see Aran on the shirt is meaning how black people, when their loved one dies, they usually has it on a shirt saying, for example, in memory of Aran. Now that is the evil shit I'm talking about. Or just do some voodoo on him. Voodoo, that is a bit too much, but not gonna lie, I would do the same thing. Okay, now that was a lot of waits, and hold on. So, what are we waiting for? I think he's waiting for his gun to come in to shoot up the place. He gonna air this bit out. Crashed out for real. At SUGAWARA,
tell me how many niggas you fuck.
5. Komori, what the hell is wrong with you? You know you wasn't gonna say the truth. You know you fucked more than you just Oika and Aran.
You tell me how many dicks you suck, I'm like...
He gangbanged by the whole team once. What the fuck? Oh, now I just want you guys are lying. Everybody already know what you are, so why try hiding it? Like everyone knows you're a hoe. Everyone knows you're going. So why try hiding it? You just lost a man that was about to propose to you. He walked into you writing BBC. You guys aren't serious. Why am I fucking dying at this?
Yeah, freaky bitch, so we should take a turn. When I fuck, I say I'm coming back, they never learn.
That was you. Like damn, if they cheat once they gon' cheat again. He
smoke a hotel bathroom out and let the water run. Count 100,000 cash, then I cut my thumb.
He's acting fucking crazy. He chased Aran around with a knife. So that's fucking crazy? What's fucking crazy is that you cheated on him with my husband. It's not my fault that your husband didn't want you anymore. And you say husband, like he was actually calling you his husband behind your back. He referred to you as that bitch. He never liked you, and I don't think he ever will. Iwaizumi should have ended you. What the fuck? Why would you say that? He should have ended you, ho. How long have you been messing around with him? 7-8 months.
Bitch, you can't lie to me, you can't tell me what can't fuck. You was acting so unsure, we was taking turns.
Aran, what the fuck? What the fuck are you doing? Telling everyone what happened. Why? Not my fault you were being an unfaithful bitch.
You know damn I fucked your friend, bitch, you got the nerve. You was trying to catch us up when you got the word.
Oh, you knew Kita. I just didn't know who. And I wanted to catch them in the act, but I guess Daichi did that for me. So you knew. Yes, I fucking did, I just didn't know who. Then why did you even endure it and say with him even though all the signs were there? I just wanted to be with him, I really loved him.
Answer the phone while he was calling, then I made her nervous. He didn't even know I was at her crib, I'm like damn, I'm dirty.
So you was at SUGAWARA's house doing that? This got me gagged. He answered the phone while cracking SUGAWARA.
Call with phone when I left, I said her pussy murder. Plus she stayed next to the house, I had to close the curtain.
This is actually wild. Why is everyone getting so caught up? Not gonna lie. Daichi, if you like am young you know where we at. Kageyama, what have been saying that Daichi is fine for the longest time.
Fuck that bitch, suck a rich nigga dick. Ain't the only rich nigga, I can't never give you kiss.
Wait, I'm dead. Oh yeah, cause he fucked Oikawa, Aran and Akashi. Wait, the fuck? When did Akashi came into this? It's because if the whole group hoeing around it's guaranteed that Akashi is also. No, he's not. Oh god, I'm fucking sick of this. Bakudo, I've been cheating on with Kuru and Kenma.
Let you suck it with the ice, you gotta mix it with the spit. You can be my hoe forever, I can never give you shit.
Daichi went offline. Well, that was a lot. Akashi, what do you mean? Come on Akashi, you don't mean that. I do both. It's over. I don't want you anymore. You can't say that. Well, I'm telling you. No Akashi, stop. I'm coming over. Bakudo, do not come over. Bakudo went offline. We've been trying to tell him. Everyone went offline. Offline. Aran Kita time skip. Kita stood in the doorway, his hands shaking at his sides. The air in their home felt thick, suffocating. Across from him, Aran sat on the couch, his arms draped over the backrest, his expression unreadable. So that's it. Kita's voice trembled, but his anger sharpened it. You cheat on me, and now you just, what? Sit there like it doesn't matter. Aran sighed, running a hand over his face. Shinsuke, it's not like that. Then what the fuck is it like? Kita snapped, his breath coming in ragged bursts, his nails dug into his palms, his whole body trembling. You say you love me, you make all these goddamn promises, and then you sleep with him? His voice cracked. Do you even fucking regret it? Aran's jaw clenched, but his face remained frustratingly composed. Of course I regret it. Do you? Kita let out a bitter laugh, his vision blurring with tears. Because you're sitting there like it's just some mistake, like it wasn't our life you shattered. He sucked in a sharp breath. You don't even look sorry. Aran's lips parted slightly, but no words came. And that silence, God, it burned more than anything. Kita's breath hitched, his anger twisting into something uglier. Say something. He choked out. Anything. Tell me why. Tell me what the fuck I did wrong. Tell me why I wasn't enough. Aran looked away. And that was it. That was all Kita needed to see. He let out a sharp, broken laugh, shaking his head. Unbelievable. He wiped at his eyes furiously, hating himself for crying, hating Aran for making him feel this way. You know what's worse than what you did? His voice was quieter now, but just as sharp. This. The way you act like it's just another day, like I'll just fucking get over it. Aran exhaled, leaning forward, his elbows resting on his knees. I was trying to hold on, he admitted. I thought if I just stayed, if I kept showing up, we could work out. But you're just so fucking boring, you don't do shit. You can't do half the shit that Sugawara does. Just let it be and give up, pretend nothing happened. I want us to work out, but we can't if you keep bitching about it. I mean, you're the one who decided to stay. What? Kita cut him off, his voice raw. Pretend it never happened? That I don't see his fucking hands all over you every time you touch me? He let out a trembling breath. I can't do this, Aran. I can't fucking breathe around you anymore. Aran's face remained blank. Then go ahead and leave, bitch. Kita snapped, stepping back. His heart pounded against his ribs. You seriously don't care, Kita? You don't get to say my name like that anymore. You don't get to act like you care when you've done nothing but rip me apart. Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy, and then Aran stood, rubbing a hand over his face before nodding once. I'll go, just like that. No fight, no begging, just acceptance. And for some reason, that made Kita's chest cave in more than anything else. As Aran walked past him, Kita clenched his fists so tightly his nails bit into his skin. Fuck you, he whispered, voice shaking. Fuck you for ruining this. For ruining me. Aran paused for half a second, then he opened the door, stepped outside, and shut it behind him, and just like that, he was gone. The house was quiet now, too quiet. Kita pressed a hand to his chest, but it did nothing to stop the ache, nothing to fill the hollow space Aran left behind. It didn't matter, he was alone, and maybe, that was how it was always meant to end. Daichi and Sugawara time skip. The velvet box in Daichi's pocket felt like a cruel joke now. It was supposed to be the start of everything, their forever. He had spent weeks planning the proposal, choosing the perfect moment, the perfect words, the perfect ring, but none of it mattered anymore. Not after tonight. Not after he found out the man he loved, the man he was ready to spend his life with, had fucked someone else. Not just anyone. Aran fucking Ajiro. Daichi's world crumbled beneath him. He couldn't remember how he got here, standing in the doorway of the apartment they shared, staring at Sugawara curled up on the couch like he already knew what was coming. His face was pale, his fingers trembling where they gripped the fabric of his sweater. You knew, Daichi said, his voice eerily calm. You fucking knew I was going to propose to you. Sugawara flinched, his lips parting like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Daichi let out a hollow laugh. And you still went and fucked him. Sugawara's breath hitched. Daichi, shut the fuck up. Daichi's voice was sharp, cutting through the room like a blade. Don't give me some bullshit excuse. Don't say it was a mistake, that you weren't thinking. You fucking thought about it. You chose to do it. Sugawara's eyes welled with tears. You're the only reason why this happened. You're acting like you were a great boyfriend during the relationship, when you were not. You neglected me, you always worked late and never made time for me. His voice cracked. I understand that I hurt you, but what do you expect me to do when I'm being neglected? So you don't know how to fucking open your mouth and communicate. You act like you can't sit down and talk to me. Daichi's voice rose, anger finally breaking through the numbness swallowing him whole. You don't get to sit there and fucking cry when you did this. You ruined us. You threw away everything we had. And for what? A fucking meaningless fuck? Sugawara sobbed, shaking his head violently. It didn't mean anything. It wasn't. I wasn't thinking. I swear to God. Daichi, you don't fucking do this to someone you love. Daichi snapped, his chest heaving. You don't destroy them. Sugawara covered his face with his hands, his whole body trembling. I love you. He choked out. I love you, Daichi. No, you fucking don't. Sugawara's breath stuttered, like Daichi had just ripped the air from his lungs. Daichi exhaled shakily, running a hand through his hair. His entire body felt like it was on fire, rage, heartbreak, disbelief all battling inside him. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the small velvet box. Sugawara's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat. Daichi stared at the ring for a long moment, at the future he had once imagined, then let out a bitter chuckle. God, I was so fucking stupid. He snapped the box shut and tossed it onto the coffee table. It landed with a soft thud, but the sound felt deafening. Sugawara let out a broken sob. Please. Daichi turned away. You don't get to have my love anymore, he said quietly. Sugawara lurched forward like he wanted to grab him, but Daichi was already at the door. Daichi, his voice cracked, desperate. But Daichi didn't stop. He didn't slam the door, didn't yell, didn't let himself break down. He just walked away. For good.